The rain hammered against the windows of the small bed and breakfast, like it had a personal grudge. Victoria Hayes moved through the cozy sitting room, lighting candles as the power flickered uncertainly. At 32, she'd been running the Maplewood Inn for 3 years, ever since her grandmother passed and left her the old Victorian house on the edge of town. It wasn't much. Just 4 guest rooms, a shared sitting area, and a kitchen where Victoria made breakfasts that guests raved about. The inn barely broke even most months, but it was hers. A refuge she'd built after leaving her corporate job as a mid-level manager at Harrison Industries. Burned out and disillusioned. Tonight, in the midst of the worst storm the region had seen in years, she had no guests. The couple scheduled to arrive had canceled hours ago, wisely deciding not to drive through the weather warnings. Victoria had been planning a quiet evening with a book when the desperate knocking came at her door. She opened it to find a man and a little girl, both soaked through despite their raincoats. The man was in his late 30s, tall, with dark hair plastered to his head, carrying a small suitcase in one hand and holding his daughter's hand with the other. The child was perhaps 6, shivering in a pink raincoat, her eyes wide with exhaustion and fear. "I'm so sorry to bother you," the man said, water streaming down his face. "We've been driving for hours trying to get to the city, but a tree fell across the main road. We're stuck. I saw your sign. Do you have any rooms available? I'll pay whatever you need." Victoria didn't hesitate. "Come in, both of you. You're freezing." She ushered them inside, grabbing towels from the linen closet. "I'm Victoria. Welcome to Maplewood Inn." "I'm Christopher," the man said gratefully. "And this is my daughter, Lily." Lily looked up at Victoria with blue eyes that held too much worry for such a young face. "We got lost," she said softly. "Daddy was trying to find the hotel, but the GPS stopped working. Home." "You're safe now," Victoria assured her. "Let's get you both warm and dry." She showed them to her best room, the one with the 4-poster bed and attached bathroom, the one she usually saved for anniversary couples. While Christopher and Lily changed into dry clothes, Victoria went to the kitchen and made hot chocolate and soup. When they emerged, Lily wearing oversized pajamas and Christopher in jeans and a sweater, both looking more human, Victoria had the sitting room arranged with comfort in mind. Soup on the coffee table, hot chocolate with marshmallows, extra blankets, and a fire crackling in the fireplace. "You didn't have to do all this," Christopher said, genuine gratitude in his voice. "Of course I did. You're my guests." Victoria smiled at Lily. "How's that hot chocolate?" "It's really good," Lily said shyly. "Thank you." As they ate, Victoria learned pieces of their story. Christopher was starting a new job in the city on Monday. Something corporate, he said vaguely. He'd been living across the country and was relocating with Lily. His wife had passed away 2 years ago, and it had been just the 2 of them ever since. "Moving is hard," Victoria said gently, "especially for someone so young." "I'm brave," Lily said, though her voice wavered. "Daddy says change is scary, but it can also be good." Christopher reached over and squeezed her hand. "That's right, sweetheart." Victoria found herself warming to this small family. Christopher was clearly devoted to his daughter, and despite the stress of being lost in a storm, he was patient and kind with her. Lily was sweet but sad, carrying a loss no child should have to bear. "The storm's supposed to last through tomorrow," Victoria said. "The road crew won't be able to clear that tree until it passes. You're welcome to stay as long as you need." "We don't want to impose," Christopher started. "You're not imposing. Honestly, I was going to spend the evening alone anyway. It's nice to have company." As the evening wore on, they talked more freely. Victoria shared how she'd left corporate life to run the inn, seeking something more meaningful than quarterly reports and performance reviews. Christopher listened with unusual intensity, asking thoughtful questions about what she'd disliked about corporate culture. "It felt like people were just numbers," Victoria said. "Employees were resources to be managed, not human beings with lives and families. My last boss couldn't even remember most of his staff's names. He'd see me in the hallway and call me Victoria from somewhere. I'd worked for him for 3 years. Christopher frowned. That's inexcusable. People deserve better. They do. But it's not how most big companies operate. Victoria shrugged, hence the career change. Here, at least, I can treat people like people. Lily had fallen asleep on the couch, exhausted from the long day. Christopher carried her upstairs, and when he returned, he and Victoria continued talking late into the night. They discovered unexpected common ground. Both had lost parents young. Both valued authenticity over appearance. Both believed work should have meaning beyond profit. Can I ask you something? Christopher said eventually. You mentioned your last job. Was it Harrison Industries? Victoria was surprised. Yes, actually. How did you know? Lucky guess. It's one of the bigger employers in this area. He paused. What department were you in? Operations Management, Northeast Division. Why? Just curious. Christopher's expression was carefully neutral. Did you know they're bringing in a new CEO? It was announced last month. I heard something about that. The old CEO retired. Victoria smiled wryly. I'm sure the new one is just like the last one, focused on stock prices and quarterly earnings, forgetting there are actual people making the company run. You sound cynical. I sound realistic. That's how corporations work. The bigger they get, the less they remember about humanity. Christopher was quiet for a long moment. What if someone tried to change that? What if a CEO actually cared about the people? Then they'd probably be fired by the board for hurting profits, Victoria said, but not unkindly. It's a nice thought, though. The next day, the storm continued. Victoria made breakfast, homemade pancakes, fresh fruit, bacon. Lily helped, carefully measuring flour under Victoria's guidance, giggling when some spilled. You're really good with her, Christopher observed, watching them from the doorway. I love kids. That was one of the best parts of corporate life, the company child care center. I used to volunteer there during lunch breaks. Victoria flipped a pancake. Lily's wonderful. You've done a great job with her. It's been hard, Christopher admitted. Balancing work and parenting, especially after losing Jenna. There were times I wasn't sure I was doing any of it right. The fact that you worry about it means you're doing it right, Victoria said, echoing the words she'd once spoken to another worried father. They spent the day playing board games, reading stories, and talking. Lily drew pictures of the inn, including one of Victoria, that made her heart squeeze. She'd drawn her with a smile and a heart over her head. That's how I see you, Lily explained. You have a kind heart. By evening, the storm had passed. The road crew called to say the highway would be clear by morning. Christopher and Lily could continue their journey to the city. I can't thank you enough, Christopher said as they prepared to settle in for one more night. You took in complete